Hey everyone, I'm Emily Serrano, Brand Marketing Manager here at Zig.ai, and today I'm here with our founder and CEO, Steve Ancheta. This is the first episode of 5 Questions with a Founder, where we talk honestly about Steve's real experiences in his years of sales. Steve, how are you doing today?
Hey, pretty good. How you doing, Emily?
I'm doing great. I'm really excited to get into this, excited for our viewers to learn a little bit more about you and your extensive years in sales. Steve, you've been around sales for a really long time now. When you think back on it, what was your day-to-day and what did that actually look like early on in your career?
Early on, I think day-to-day is always kind of weird, right? It's kind of chaotic. So it's really you going into or it was for me going into a sales role and really just figuring out kind of what, number one, what I was selling, who I was selling to. I got thrown a laptop and maybe a couple systems and tools, and they said, hey, have at it, go do your thing, and just trying to figure it out, right? And you do that by a couple different ways. You learn as much as you can, obviously, with the tools and the systems that they gave me, and then also asking like people who are more tenured than me and seeing what they were doing, and maybe I can mimic some of their success, especially early on, until I kind of found my flow, right? So it's all about finding your flow, I think, early on in a sales career for sure.
That's really cool. And as that kind of changed over time, what part of the job started to feel like it was a heavier lift, or what were some more frustrating parts that you kind of started to notice?
I think for me, like once I got into a flow, getting customers wasn't hard, right? I knew what I was selling. I knew who I was selling to. I knew what messaging landed. Like I knew all that stuff. That became pretty easy. I think what I didn't know was kind of the more customers you sell to, the more stuff you got to deal with, right? Whether it's implementations, whether it's, getting contracts signed, jumping on calls, break fixes, putting in, tickets for customers that call you, whatever it is. Like there was always other things, like intangible things that weren't, quote unquote part of my job that I had to do. And obviously the more you sell, the more customers you have to service at the same time. So that volume increased. And so that becomes a much heavier lift, I think, than anything I expected.
So a lot more of your day kind of used towards non-selling time than you thought.
Yeah, always. I mean, that's always what it looks like. The more you sell, the more you got to do. And even the less you sell, the more you got to do. It's kind of a weird pendulum that swings, and it doesn't matter, the selling part's the easy part. It's everything else. I think that became the heavier lift and shift as I matured in my career.
And did you ever notice or start to notice patterns in where things maybe like kind of broke down or got messier during the day, or just were eating away at that, precious selling time?
Yeah, I mean, I think that I don't think there was like any one moment that I like noticed that happening, but I think just over time, I found myself thinking like, man, is there a more efficient way to do this, or is there a better time management approach that I should take here? So what I started doing was I would segment days for different tasks. Mondays would be a very heavy admin day where I would do a lot of the stuff that wasn't selling and get that off my plate. And then Friday I would do more of a wrap up and make sure that I got everything done for the week, so that I got the most out of Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday to do what I was hired to do, which was essentially have conversations, talk to customers, sell, close deals. So that's pretty simple.
And given I know that there's so many different tools on the market to, quote unquote, help for selling, did you ever feel like you were kind of bombarded with, being thrown multiple tools that were supposedly going to help you, but it just, ended up being another thing that you had to learn?
I think tools are great. The first company that I was at didn't really invest in tools. It was more old school, where it's kind of go find your customers, out in the wild, and, bring them in. There wasn't much from like a tool perspective there, but I as I led sales organizations myself, and had my own companies, I invested heavily into tools. The one thing that I think that I didn't foresee was the time investment that it takes for the end user, the sales rep, to have to invest in those tools to learn them, become efficient in them. And I think that's where kind of there was a big learning curve, and sometimes you don't see the value out of those tools as much as you would want, just because of that, because of the human intervention piece.
And was there ever a point that you thought maybe, why does it seem harder than it should be?
Yeah. I mean, that happens all the time, right? It's all about like trying to find efficiencies. And there's many times where I felt like there was things that should just be easy that weren't, right? There was friction where I felt like there didn't have to be friction. And that does take a lot of time and effort that sometimes, people aren't willing to invest. I know there's times where I've given up on using certain cadences or tools or whatever it is, just because of just I didn't see the value in it after I tried it for a little bit.
And looking back now, what do you think people who haven't done sales don't fully understand about the job?
100% like the intangible workload. So anything that's not building a relationship, having a conversation, selling, like there's a lot of operational acumen that comes with being a good salesperson. And if you don't have that operational acumen, you better learn it fast, because that's something that you 100% need in a sales role. And I don't think that people understand that when they come into it. They think that it's all, freedom, autonomy, and relationship building, which is all the good parts. They don't understand the operational aspect of it, which is more of what you do on a daily basis actually than the other part.
That's really interesting. Well, I really appreciate you taking the time to talk with me, Steve. I feel like we really learned a lot. It seems like you have definitely understood the struggles of, the day to day, definitely have had different roles in the industry that have given you such great experience and knowledge. And I'm excited for our viewers to continue to get to know you in our next series video. Thank you so much for taking the time
Sounds
today.
good.
Have a
Thanks.
good
Talk to you
one.
soon. Bye.